Hey everyone, it's Wednesday Warriors, and it's me, Arielle, and this week I'm going to be answering a question from Cristina about stopping negative thoughts and specifically what helped me to stop them. So I'm going to read you her question and we'll just go on from there. Cristina asked me, what tools did you find are the most efficient for letting go of the negative disordered thoughts? How long did it take you to make them disappear completely? And explain the process. So I will do my best, Cristina, and hope to shed some light on some things. The first thing that I want to start out saying, though, is that there should be no timetable. And I don't like to talk about timetables even when I'm talking about my personal experiences, because I don't ever want there to be any room for comparisons or contrasts in any way. So if I say it took me this long and it's taken you longer or it's taken you shorter, I don't want you to judge yourself, and I don't want you to think that the process is taking too long or it's not taking long enough. I don't want you to question anything, because everyone's recovery is different and we're all just different people. And I know you probably hear that a lot. Everyone's different, but it really is true. And I really, really, really work hard to avoid creating situations where you're going to compare yourself or your recovery to someone else's. So one of the things that I used as a tool to stop negative thoughts is a little bit strange maybe, but maybe you'll understand it if I explain it a little bit. One of the tools I used was self-portraits. And long before selfies and all this Instagram stuff was something that was normal and typical and, part of the internet world, I used to take self-portraits. I used to take my own picture daily, on a daily basis. And I'm talking let me think about how long ago this was. 10 years ago, I was doing this in an attempt to capture myself each day and really look for the good. And it didn't have to be appearance-based. It could be, the mood or the spirit that I was showing in the portrait, but it could also be my appearance. I did it so that instead of nitpicking the way I looked, instead of finding fat or finding fault, I was looking to find something beautiful. And the more I continued to take my own photo, the more I continued to make self-portraits part of my daily routine, the more I started to appreciate all the little things about myself and really grow to love myself from a physical standpoint, which had been really hard for me because I had a very skewed perception of self. So picture taking isn't going to solve all your problems, but it can be an interesting tool, and it should be for you. It shouldn't be for other people. So I'm not talking about Instagramming all the pictures of you, and it's not meant to be a self-centered, self-involved kind of thing. And I realize it can come across that way when I'm saying, oh, I took my picture every day and thought about how beautiful I was. But I don't mean it in that blatant of terminology. I just mean that I did it to start to appreciate myself, and if I started to nitpick something or I started to find negative aspects of the portrait that I took, I would stop myself and say, no, I can nitpick myself when I look at myself in the mirror. I can think negative thoughts all the other hours of the day, but this picture is about something sacred. This picture is for me to find the positive in. And all that other time, fine, but this is my appointment with myself where I'm going to do this as a good thing, and I'm only going to see the beauty. And that just kind of began to morph into everyday life and the way I thought all of the time. So I'm happy to share that with you because I think it's cool. And taking my own picture is still about fun and art and joy of life and appreciating me for who I am, whether that means physical appearance beauty, the inner beauty that kind of shines out in whatever kind of expression I have, or in what I'm doing, my strength of self and circumstance. So take that for what you will, and take it as something that did work for me. Will it work for you? I don't know, but is it worth a shot? Certainly. And again, this was before taking pictures of yourself and posting them was any kind of a thing. I mean, this was a decade ago. Acts of kindness were and are also very helpful for stopping negative thoughts about yourself. When you're doing something that's pure and kind for someone else, however small it is, there's really no room for you to be unkind to yourself. It's also very hard to be mean to yourself when you are in the act of doing something nice for someone else. Sort of like how it's hard to be mean to a child, and how it's hard to think bad things about the child version of you. It's really hard to find fault in you as a person who's doing something nice for someone else. Even when you are finding fault in yourself all the other hours of the day, when you're doing something kind, there's not really any room for that. And it just doesn't make logical sense, and it doesn't even make emotional sense. So kind of gives your brain a break, and doing something kind, it's like practice makes perfect. So if you can't bring yourself to be kind to yourself right now, if you start doing acts of kindness for other people, it becomes second nature, and being kind becomes like your norm, and then it just seems bad and abnormal to not be kind to you. It's the best way I can explain it. But, acts of kindness can be, like, if any of you know that I leave random notes for strangers anonymously, I leave them places every week. That's a random act of kindness. Leaving a nice note, at a table or a chair at a restaurant you've been or something for someone else to find it. Spreading a smile, holding doors for people, asking to carry something heavy for someone else. Things like that are all kind. Even just, bending down and talking to a little child who looks like they really want to share some kind of information they're bursting with, tell you about their toy or tell you about their story. Sometimes just seeing someone who looks really lost and scared or alone, and just sitting there and talking to them. You don't have to be talking to them about what's bringing them pain or what's making them lonely, but just being there and saying, "Hi, how are you today?" And, having a 5-minute conversation about whatever transpires. Those are the little things that make life meaningful, and those are the little things that bring us all together. And that is one of the wonderful things about this online world, the internet, YouTube videos, Facebook, blogs. We get to see glimpses of other people's lives. We feel connected to them, and that connection is just so cool and important. And you can have that every day in any way that you choose. You can be in control of that. And it can be face-to-face, and it can be on the internet too. I mean, acts of kindness can happen on the internet, whatever you're comfortable with. But don't forget that those things are a blessing to the person upon whom you're bestowing them, but they're also a blessing to you, because you'll notice that you reap what you sow, and it does start to grow inward, and it makes a huge difference. Take it from me. So in talking about humanity and connection and things like that, one of the things I like to think about is looking at the world through a writer's eyes. And just because I consider myself a writer, but even if you don't, I mean, just looking at the world as beautiful and interesting, and everyone having a story. And when you think about everyone having a story, you are seeing things differently, and realizing that we're all connected in some way, however small the ways, is just a very unique way to sort of ground you and bring you back to the moment and make you understand that we're all flawed. We're not bad people. We're not ugly. We're not unlovable. And it makes you feel more whole, I guess. And it almost forces you to be nicer to yourself. And that's where everything starts with. That's where all of this stuff begins. When you want to stop these negative thoughts, it begins with kindness, with being kind to yourself. You have to start trying to be kind to yourself. You can worry about behaviors and triggers and weight and therapy and all of those things, but without being kind to yourself, you won't get anywhere. And you can train yourself to do automatic redirection. When you have that negative thought, you didn't stop yourself from having it. It still happened, but you just automatically redirect. You start training yourself. I don't want to think that. Instead, I want to think this. And it didn't erase it from your mind. You still thought the negative thought first, but every time it happens, your instinct becomes to say, nope, that's not what I want to think. Instead, I want to think this. And you just combat it with a positive thought. And again, the more you do that, the more it becomes like second nature. And instead of harming yourself, you're sort of fighting off all those negative words and, batting them away as they come at you. You still saw them, but you're getting rid of them immediately. And pretty soon they'll come less and less because you've begun to train yourself. And pretty soon they'll stop coming altogether, and that's the goal. That's why I'm making this video, to answer Christina's question. Laughing at myself was always very helpful in learning to stop the negative thoughts. I still like to laugh at myself. I mean, it's easy for all of us to become defensive when things are said or things are felt, and people will always have things to say, and, we're always going to have some kind of a negative thought come in there, no matter where it comes from. But laughing at ourselves is just, I don't know a better word for it than awesome. Laughter is the best medicine. We've heard that phrase before, but laughing at yourself is pretty good medicine too, because you're not making fun of yourself. You're just laughing at the flaws and the circumstances that befall you. And if you are able to approach your flaws with a lighthearted attitude, you will get very, very far. And the last thing that I'll talk about is this idea of not hiding anymore. One of the things that helped me the most was talking about it. Talking about why I thought negatively about myself, talking about why I thought I was a certain way, really having the conversations with people, whether they were friends or strangers or on a blog. I was talking about how I felt, talking about what I thought in my head, and instead of keeping it in there to fester and grow, I was sharing it. I was turning tears to words, and that always helped me. That's like a little phrase. That's the original URL of my Actively Arielle, a Voice with a Commitment blog. I've changed it to be ariellelebear.com, but even if you click an ariellelebear.com link, it takes you to the page, and the browser at the top, you'll see it says Tears to Words. Tears to Words was like the original concept. Turning tears to words is where it starts. Not just, having tears for no reason or having tears every day and not getting any better, but turning tears into something else. Turning tears into words gives you a voice, gives other people a voice, starts conversations, keeps you from hiding. You're not quiet anymore, and you get better. That's how you get better. That's how you stop those negative thoughts. Life is about growing, and no one's done growing, not you, not me, not wise 95-year-old people. I have flaws, I have faults, just like everyone else. I'm not devoid of flaws or faults just because I'm free of my eating disorder and I don't have those crazy negative thoughts anymore. I have things to work on. We all do, and that's part of life. So just love yourself through that. Have a great week, everyone. Take care.